Thanks for clicking on Conversations with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm Curtis Smith, and I invite you to subscribe to our podcast and to like and share it as well. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm your host, Curtis Smith. Joining me today is Crosswinds therapist Leanda Weimer. Leanda, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Full transparency, we're talking about one of my least favorite topics today, social media and its impact on the world. I am not a huge social media fan. I see that it has some good, and I can get sucked into it. That's part of the reason I'm not a huge fan.
Oh, we all can.
Right? So let's talk about the impact that it can have on mental health, in particular for teens. They seem most susceptible to the power of social media. As you work with teens, Leanda, what are you seeing?
Yeah. So kind of in my background, I've worked in schools. I've worked with a lot of teens. I'm a child therapist. And I've seen the impact of social media causing more anxiety and depression in teens. Just even the apps that they use, like Snapchat and Instagram, TikTok, things like that. It's definitely a comparison game. There's definitely that kind of FOMO or fear of missing out, and just the way that even the communication is between teens now. I saw, like, even walking into a cafeteria, kids were not really even having face-to-face conversation anymore. They were talking through their phone and through apps, and everything's through Snapchat and TikTok and stuff now. So that face-to-face communication is even lacking.
Wow. So part of what you're saying is, as you're running through the list of social medias, it catches my attention that you're not even mentioning Facebook or Twitter anymore. Like those are the social media things that old people use, right?
Right.
So tell me, this literally just popped into my mind. So I don't know, 15, 20 years ago when social media really got going, whenever that was, it felt like Facebook and even then Twitter was kind of a longer form. Hey, here's an update on my life. Here's a way to stay connected. I can learn about somebody, and it was really healthy in a lot of ways. It seems like these new platforms are all about speed, mass consumption. They've kind of changed. Like, I think about even the way I use Instagram, and I can, in a minute, I'll scroll through Instagram, and I've made it through 20, 30 updates. I'm giving everything 2 seconds or so. I assume for teenagers, that is very much the case, and it's not healthy.
Right. And even for their developmentally, their brains are not fully functioning yet, and they don't have that frontal lobe whereas you and I as adults have that kind of capacity to say, okay, this doesn't apply to me, or I don't really care about that. That's not something, or you can kind of see the news behind it of, like, is this true? Is this, to apply some critical thinking skills behind it. And teenagers don't have that frontal lobe fully developed yet to really navigate that. And so when they're taking in, I think it's like every 3 seconds, there's a new story or new post or new social media something that's coming on, and probably even more now, that they're consuming daily. And it says on average, teens are on their phones like 10 hours a day now.
Oh my goodness.
And it's affecting sleep. It's affecting their friendships. It's affecting anxiety. We're seeing a skyrocket of anxiety and depression as well in teens because of it.
So here's the $1 billion question. So what do we do? Because social media is not going anywhere, right? All it's done is expanded. It's gotten faster, shorter, easier to access.
Yeah.
No teenager wants to give up their phone. No teenager wants to give up social media.
Right.
What do we do?
And I think we, in some ways, have to kind of reel it back and really put limits on, and even model that as adults, model that for the teens. Because I know, like we talked about at the beginning, we're connected to social media. We're always on our phones. We always have all those things up, and Instagram and everything up on our phones too. And so I think it starts with modeling that as well at home, but then also talking to our teens about digital citizenship and being a good citizen online and what that means and how they can navigate those postings, information, communication on social media, and trying to limit their usage online too. And having it's affecting sleep. And the biggest thing that popped in my head as you were asking me that question is sleep hygiene. Talking to our teens about putting down the screens and not getting online and not getting on their phone an hour or two before they go to bed, because that blue light and things like that from the phones and from even just the interactions of social media, everything is kind of sensationalized. Everything needs to go viral now.
Right.
And so it's not just like a lighthearted, like, oh, Johnny got a new puppy. Like, it's like, this is what's happening in the world and there's going to be, something that's going to destroy us all. Like, It's some type of, not sensationalized, but really type of thing for everything to go viral. And so it's not something that's lighthearted and airy right before bed to experience.
My kids are all in their 20s now, but they got in on the cell phone era while they were still teenagers. And I remember for a time, towards the end, we employed a strategy of making them plug in their phones overnight in the kitchen downstairs, and then bedtime meant no phones at your bed. That felt like it worked, and felt like a good strategy. Yes. What other tips might you have for parents out there who are thinking, gosh, I can't get my kid off their phone?
Yeah, I think even screens in general, like TVs, tablets, phones, computers, things like that, like out of the bedroom. I think plugging your phone in down in the kitchen is a perfect example of that, of just trying to unplug and trying to limit your usage even at night. And again, like in a dark room when you're scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m., like you're getting that blue light in your eyes and your brain is saying, okay, it's time to wake up. So that's why like REM sleep is really hard for teenagers. And we know developmentally teenagers need about 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night. And most teenagers I talk to are lucky if they get like 4 to 6 hours a night. And then they have to get up and go to school and function for 8 hours a day, at school and their jobs or sports, activities, things they do in the evening too. Yeah. And so they just don't have that capacity to really developmentally put the phone down and say like, okay, I need to leave it. I need to unplug. So helping teach the kids to unplug in schools. I wish schools wouldn't be so tech heavy either. I wish we still did like the old paper, do a worksheet and turn it in physically to the teacher. I still am old school too. Like I'm in my 30s, but I still love paper. I still do a paper planner. And I do that to avoid being on my phone so much and having that screen input.
When you work with teenagers and you are telling them these sorts of things, you're not getting enough sleep, you're not getting good sleep, you're getting too much screen time, you're seeing the world through a lens that you're really not, it's not the healthiest thing for you. When you say these things to teenagers, how do they respond? Do they get it? Are they willing to work on this? Or is it so ingrained as part of their lifestyle that they just can't move on?
Yeah. I think it's so ingrained that they're addicted to it. And I think a lot of people really ultimately meet the criteria for addiction on their phone. That we're all addicted to hours and hours of being on our phone and being on social media. And I'll throw myself under the bus too. Like I get that report every week of like how many hours of screen time I've been on my phone. And I love that Apple did that. Like I have an iPhone. So it still kind of holds me accountable. But I think again with teenagers, they don't have that capacity to really understand, like, they know that it's unhealthy for them, but they don't know how to take that steps to unplug, because in teenage world too, developmentally, friends are the biggest thing, interactions for them, and that peer influence is the biggest influence in their life in teenagers. And so unplugging from their phone means unplugging from their friends, because they don't have that physical, personal relationship with people anymore. So again, that's where they get their social interaction. That's where they get their news. That's where they connect with people. That's where they get their friendships and things like that, is online. And most teenagers don't even have friends in their school anymore. They're virtual friends from other states, from other countries even, or, they join online forums, groups, chat rooms, things like that to plug in and find like-minded people for them too, which is great. That's one of the cool things about social media is that you can find people that are like-minded and people that support you and encourage you. But then on the flip side, it can avoid that personal relationship with people in your real life, in your day-to-day life.
I'm going to sound 98 years old, but like back in my day, like if you didn't live in my neighborhood or go to my school, I had no idea that you existed.
Right.
And my world seemed pretty good.
Right.
Like I enjoyed my childhood.
Right. Right.
But again, I realize I sound 98 and you can kind of look at these days. So Leanda, thank you for helping us to think about how to best navigate this world that we live in. It's a tricky thing for teenagers. It's a tricky thing for parents, and even for adults who don't have kids. We get sucked into the same stuff, as you said. So thank you. A great topic. Yeah. If you would like to work with Leanda, you can find her at crosswindscounseling.org. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. We will see you next time on Conversations with Crosswinds Counseling. Thanks for watching Conversations with Crosswinds Counseling today. I hope it was helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Like and share it as well. We appreciate that and hope you have a great day.